This is a country where ancient volcanoes pierce through cloud forests, where pink flamingos dance on emerald lakes 12,000 feet above sea level, and where Darwin's revolutionary theories were born on islands that exist like nowhere else on Earth. This is Ecuador, a nation so impossibly diverse that it contains 4 entire worlds within borders smaller than the state of Nevada. From the snow-capped peaks of the Andes that scrape the heavens, to the Amazon rainforest that breathes life into our planet, to the Pacific coastline where humpback whales breach in perfect synchrony, Ecuador doesn't just showcase nature's greatest hits, it rewrites the rules of what's possible in a single country. In the next few minutes, we're embarking on a visual odyssey through 12 wonders that will challenge everything you thought you knew about natural beauty. We'll stand beneath waterfalls that plunge from heights that make skyscrapers look like toys. We'll witness volcanic lakes that glow like molten jewels. We'll explore cities that defy gravity, perched on mountainsides at altitudes where the air itself becomes thin and precious. This isn't just a countdown, it's a journey through landscapes so extraordinary, they've inspired scientists, conquistadors, and dreamers for centuries. Each wonder we'll discover represents a different facet of Ecuador's impossible beauty, from architectural marvels that took centuries to perfect, to natural phenomena that took millions of years to create. Get ready to witness a country where every view is a masterpiece, and every destination rewrites the definition of breathtaking. Number 12. Cotopaxi National Park. Rising like a perfect geometric dream from the Andean highlands, Cotopaxi Volcano stands as one of the most symmetrical and active volcanoes on Earth. At 19,347 feet, this snow-capped giant dominates the landscape with an almost supernatural presence, its perfectly conical shape creating a silhouette so flawless it seems crafted by divine hands rather than geological forces. The approach to Cotopaxi National Park reveals a landscape that feels otherworldly. Vast Paramo grasslands stretch endlessly toward the horizon, their golden hues shifting from amber to copper as clouds race across the sky. Wild horses gallop freely across these high-altitude plains, their manes flowing in wind that carries the crisp, thin air of 11,000 feet above sea level. The silence here is profound, broken only by the whisper of wind through native grasses and the distant call of Andean condors circling overhead. What makes Cotopaxi truly extraordinary isn't just its perfect beauty, it's the raw power that lies beneath. This is one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes, capable of devastating eruptions that can be seen from space. Yet, its glacier-covered summit creates a stunning contrast between fire and ice, where permanent snowfields meet molten rock just miles below. The mountain's last major eruption in 1877 was heard over 600 miles away, yet today, climbers from around the world attempt to reach its summit, walking literally on top of one of nature's most powerful forces. The park surrounding Cotopaxi reveals Ecuador's incredible biodiversity in miniature. Spectacled bears, the only bear species in South America, roam these highlands alongside vicuñas, deer, and over 90 bird species. The Limpiapungo Lagoon, nestled at the volcano's base, reflects Cotopaxi's perfect cone in its dark waters, creating a mirror image that doubles the mountain's dramatic impact. At sunrise, the peak glows with alpenglow, a phenomenon that transforms the white summit into shades of pink, orange, and gold that seem to emanate from within the mountain itself. Number 11. Banos de Agua Santa. Nestled in a valley where the Andes begin their dramatic descent toward the Amazon, Banos de Agua Santa exists in a realm between worlds. This mountain town, perched at 6,000 feet above sea level, serves as the gateway to Ecuador's most spectacular collection of waterfalls. While the active Tungurahua volcano looms overhead like a sleeping giant, its occasional rumblings a reminder of the raw forces that shaped this landscape. The town itself is a marvel of adaptation. Colorful colonial buildings cascade down steep hillsides, their red-tiled roofs creating a tapestry of warmth against the lush green mountains that surround them. But it's the waterfalls that make Banos legendary. The Ruta de las Cascadas, or waterfall route, winds through cloud forest and mountain terrain, revealing over a dozen major waterfalls, each one a masterpiece of hydraulic artistry. Pilón del Diablo, the Devil's Cauldron, stands as the crown jewel of this aquatic paradise. Here, the Pastaza River plunges 260 feet through a narrow canyon, creating a thunderous roar that can be felt as much as heard. The mist from the falls creates permanent rainbows that dance in the afternoon light, while the force of the water has carved intricate patterns into the surrounding rock face over thousands of years. Visitors can walk behind the falls through natural tunnels, feeling the spray on their faces while surrounded by the deafening symphony of falling water. But Banos offers more than just waterfalls. The town's thermal springs, heated by geothermal activity from Tungurahua volcano, have been drawing visitors for centuries. These mineral-rich waters, ranging from comfortable to nearly scalding, emerge from deep within the earth, carrying with them dissolved minerals that are said to have healing properties. The contrast is striking, soaking in naturally heated pools while surrounded by cool mountain air and the constant presence of an active volcano. The adventure sports scene in Banos has evolved to match the landscape's dramatic character. Zip-lining across valleys offers bird's-eye views of waterfalls and cloud forest, while bridge jumping from the historic San Francisco Bridge provides an adrenaline rush with views of the Pastaza River Gorge below. Yet perhaps the most memorable experience is simply watching Tungurahua's nighttime eruptions from the town's hillsides, as glowing lava creates a natural fireworks display against the star-filled sky. Number 10. Quilotoa Crater Lake. High in the Andean highlands, where the air is so thin that every breath requires conscious effort, lies one of Ecuador's most surreal natural wonders. Quilotoa Crater Lake occupies the collapsed caldera of an ancient volcano, creating a nearly perfect circular lake that glows with an otherworldly turquoise light. At 12,841 feet above sea level, this geological masterpiece sits in a landscape so remote and dramatic that reaching it feels like discovering a secret that the Earth has kept hidden for millennia. The approach to Quilotoa reveals the harsh beauty of Ecuador's high Paramo ecosystem. Indigenous communities have lived in these highlands for centuries, their traditional lifestyle adapted to the extreme altitude and challenging conditions. Stone houses dot the landscape, their walls built thick to withstand the fierce winds that sweep across these heights. Llamas and alpacas graze on the sparse vegetation, their thick coats protecting them from temperatures that can drop below freezing even during the day. But nothing prepares visitors for the first glimpse of the crater lake itself. Standing on the rim, looking down into the caldera, the water below appears to glow with an inner light, a phenomenon caused by dissolved minerals that create an almost fluorescent turquoise color. The lake's surface, nearly 2 miles across, reflects the sky so perfectly that it creates a disorienting effect, as if looking into a portal to another dimension. The crater walls plunge dramatically into the water, their slopes covered in a patchwork of colors that change throughout the day. Volcanic rock creates bands of red, orange, and black, while hardy plants add splashes of green and yellow. The contrast between the brilliant blue of the lake and the earth-toned crater walls creates a visual impact that seems almost too perfect to be natural. Descending to the lake's edge requires a steep hike down loose volcanic scree, but the reward is unforgettable. Up close, the water's clarity reveals depths that seem to go on forever, while the silence is so complete that every sound, the gentle lap of waves against the shore, the whisper of wind across the water's surface, becomes amplified. The lake's remote location means that visitors often have this natural cathedral entirely to themselves, creating a sense of solitude that is increasingly rare in our connected world. Number 9. Galapagos Islands. 600 miles off Ecuador's coast, where the Pacific Ocean reaches depths of over 12,000 feet, rises an archipelago that changed our understanding of life itself. The Galapagos Islands exist in a realm of evolutionary wonder, where species found nowhere else on Earth have adapted to conditions so unique that they seem to belong on another planet. This volcanic chain, born from underwater eruptions millions of years ago, continues to evolve today, with new islands still forming as tectonic forces push molten rock through the ocean floor. The first glimpse of the Galapagos reveals landscapes that, honestly, just defy expectations. Instead of a typical tropical paradise, visitors encounter a moonscape of black volcanic rock, where recent lava flows create patterns that look like abstract art painted on a massive scale. Yet within this harsh environment thrives a collection of species so remarkable that they inspired Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Giant tortoises, some weighing over 500 pounds and living for more than 150 years, move slowly across barren landscapes like living boulders. Marine iguanas, the only lizards in the world that swim in salt water, bask on black rocks, their dragon-like appearance enhanced by the ability to expel salt through specialized glands in their nostrils. The underwater world of the Galapagos rivals any tropical destination for sheer biodiversity. Here, cold ocean currents from the Antarctic meet warm tropical waters, creating a unique marine ecosystem where penguins swim alongside tropical fish. Hammerhead sharks patrol the deep waters in schools of hundreds, while playful sea lions perform underwater acrobatics that would make Olympic divers jealous. The water clarity allows visibility of over 100 feet, revealing coral reefs where every color imaginable creates a living kaleidoscope. Each island in the archipelago tells a different story of adaptation and evolution. On Espanola Island, waved albatrosses perform elaborate courtship dances, their synchronized movements accompanied by bill-clapping sounds that echo across the cliffs. On Floriana Island, greater flamingos feed in saltwater lagoons, their pink plumage creating shocking color contrasts against the black volcanic sand. The famous Darwin's finches, with their varying beak shapes perfectly adapted to different food sources, demonstrate evolution in action across the different islands. What makes the Galapagos truly extraordinary is not just the uniqueness of its species, but their complete lack of fear of humans. Visitors can walk within feet of animals that exist nowhere else on Earth, observing behaviors that have remained unchanged for millions of years. This fearlessness creates wildlife encounters that feel more like entering a nature documentary than visiting a typical destination. Number 8. Cuenca's Historic Center. In the heart of Ecuador's southern highlands, where cobblestone streets wind between buildings that have stood for centuries, lies one of South America's most perfectly preserved colonial cities. Cuenca's Historic Center represents the pinnacle of Spanish colonial architecture, its red-tiled roofs and whitewashed walls creating a harmonious urban landscape that has earned UNESCO World Heritage status. But this isn't a museum piece. It's a living city where traditional life continues against a backdrop of architectural masterpieces. The approach to Cuenca reveals a city that seems to flow with the natural contours of the landscape. Built along the banks of 4 rivers, the historic center occupies a natural amphitheater surrounded by mountains that provide a dramatic backdrop to the colonial architecture. The Tomabamba River, lined with historic buildings that seem to rise directly from the water, creates reflections that double the visual impact of the city's most beautiful facades. At the heart of Cuenca stands the new cathedral, officially known as the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception. This neo-Gothic masterpiece, begun in 1885 and completed nearly a century later, dominates the city's skyline with its distinctive blue domes that seem to glow against the mountain backdrop. The cathedral's interior reveals soaring vaulted ceilings supported by massive stone columns, while stained glass windows cast rainbow light across floors paved with marble imported from Italy. The building's scale is overwhelming. It can accommodate over 9,000 worshippers and stands as one of the largest churches in South America. But Cuenca's beauty extends far beyond its religious architecture. The city's residential neighborhoods reveal a consistent architectural language that has been maintained for over 400 years. Wooden balconies carved by master craftsmen overhang narrow streets where the sound of footsteps on cobblestones creates a rhythmic soundtrack. Interior courtyards hidden behind modest doorways open to reveal gardens where fountains and colonial-era details create private sanctuaries in the heart of the city. The traditional craft industries that have sustained Cuenca for centuries continue to thrive in workshops scattered throughout the historic center. Panama hat weavers, the famous hats actually originated in Ecuador, not Panama, work with toquilla palm fibers so fine that the highest quality hats can be folded and passed through a wedding ring. The intricate weaving process can take months to complete, with the finest hats commanding prices that rival luxury automobiles. Number 7. Amazon Rainforest, Yasuni National Park. Deep in Ecuador's eastern lowlands, where the Andes give way to endless green horizons, lies one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Yasuni National Park encompasses nearly 4,000 square miles of pristine Amazon rainforest, a living laboratory where more species exist in a single hectare than in all of North America. This is the Amazon at its most wild and untouched, where indigenous communities have lived in harmony with the forest for thousands of years, and where new species are still being discovered by scientists exploring this vast green cathedral. The first experience of entering Yasuni overwhelms the senses. The sound hits you first, a constant symphony of bird calls, insect chirps, and the rustle of leaves that creates a natural orchestra of incredible complexity. The air itself feels different here, thick with humidity and rich with the scent of decomposing vegetation that feeds the forest's incredible productivity. Sunlight filters through the canopy 150 feet above, creating a dappled pattern of light and shadow that shifts constantly as the forest sways in the breeze. The statistics of Yasuni's biodiversity are, well, quite staggering. Imagine this: a single tree here can host more ant species than exist in all of the British Isles. It's incredible. The park is home to over 2,000 tree species, 1,600 bird species, and 200 mammal species. Among these trees, giant cecropia and kapok trees rise like natural skyscrapers. Their massive trunks are so large that it would take dozens of people holding hands to encircle them. Strangler figs, on the other hand, begin life in the canopy and slowly envelop their host trees, creating hollow chambers that serve as nurseries for countless species. The Amazon's water systems create, a sort of parallel universe beneath the forest canopy. Oxbow lakes, formed when meandering rivers change course, create perfectly still mirrors that reflect the surrounding forest. These waters are teeming with life. Pink river dolphins surface to breathe, and their intelligent eyes seem to study visitors with curiosity. Caimans float motionless near the shore, and their eyes glow red in flashlight beams during night excursions. Giant river otters, nearly 6 feet long, play in family groups while fishing for the abundant piranhas and catfish that fill these waters. The indigenous communities of Yasuni, the Waorani, Shuar, and Achuar peoples, have developed a relationship with the forest that spans millennia. Their traditional knowledge includes uses for thousands of plant species, from medicinal applications that modern science is only beginning to understand, to construction techniques that create buildings perfectly adapted to the forest environment. Their presence in the forest is so light that areas where they have lived for generations appear completely untouched to outside observers. Number 6. Chimborazo Volcano. Rising from the Andean highlands like a massive pyramid of ice and rock, Chimborazo volcano claims a unique distinction in geography. Due to Earth's equatorial bulge, its summit at 20,564 feet is actually the farthest point from the planet's center, making it technically the highest mountain on Earth when measured from the planet's core. This massive stratovolcano, dormant for over 1,400 years, dominates the landscape of central Ecuador with a presence so commanding that it can be seen from over 100 miles away on clear days. The approach to Chimborazo reveals a mountain that seems to grow larger with every mile, its bulk so massive that it creates its own weather patterns. The lower slopes support a unique ecosystem of high-altitude grasslands where vicuñas, wild relatives of llamas, graze in herds, their golden coats perfectly camouflaged against the paramo vegetation. These graceful animals, standing barely 3 feet tall, represent one of the most successful adaptations to high-altitude life. Their incredibly efficient circulatory systems, allowing them to thrive in air that contains less than half the oxygen found at sea level. The mountain's glacial system, though dramatically reduced from its historical extent, still creates one of the most stunning visual spectacles in the Andes. The permanent snowline begins at around 16,000 feet, above which the mountain transforms into a realm of ice and rock that seems to belong to another planet. The glaciers themselves tell a story of climate change. Historical accounts describe ice flows that descended much lower on the mountain, while today's glaciers cling to the highest peaks, their blue-white surfaces creating a brilliant contrast against the deep blue sky of high altitude. What makes Chimborazo truly extraordinary is the contrast between its massive base and the delicate beauty of its summit region. The mountain's footprint covers over 2,000 square miles, yet its peak rises to a point so sharp it seems to pierce the sky. The technical climbing required to reach the summit involves navigating crevasses and ice walls that would challenge experienced mountaineers, while the altitude creates conditions where every step requires tremendous effort. The cultural significance of Chimborazo extends far beyond its physical presence. Indigenous communities have revered this mountain for centuries, considering it a sacred apu or mountain spirit that watches over the surrounding valleys. The mountain's name comes from the Quechua words chimbo, snowy, and razo, ice, reflecting its permanent crown of snow and ice that gleams like a beacon across the Andean landscape. And just when you think Ecuador's beauty has reached its peak, wait until you see what's waiting at number 1. If this journey has already left you breathless, hit that subscribe button. We're only halfway through, and the most spectacular wonders are still to come. Number 5. Mindo Cloud Forest. Where the Andes begin their descent toward the Pacific coast, at an elevation where mountains meet sky, lies one of the world's most remarkable ecosystems. The Mindo cloud forest exists in a perpetual embrace with the clouds, creating a mystical landscape where moisture-laden air from the Pacific Ocean meets the rising mountain slopes and condenses into a living mist that nourishes one of the planet's most diverse environments. This cloud forest, located just 2 hours from Quito, harbors over 1,900 bird species, more than the entire United States and Canada combined. The experience of entering Mindo overwhelms visitors with its otherworldly atmosphere. The forest exists in a state of perpetual twilight, where sunlight filters through layers of canopy and cloud to create a soft, diffused light that seems to emanate from the vegetation itself. Every surface, tree trunks, branches, even leaves, is covered in a carpet of moss, ferns, and epiphytes that create a landscape so lush, it seems fictional. The air itself feels different here, thick with moisture and rich with the scent of growing things, while the constant drip of condensation creates a gentle percussion that provides the forest's soundtrack. The biodiversity of Mindo exists on multiple levels, literally. The forest canopy, reaching heights of 80 to 100 feet, creates distinct ecosystems at different elevations. In the emergent layer, where the tallest trees break through the canopy, harpy eagles and other raptors patrol territories that span miles. Below, in the canopy proper, troops of howler monkeys move through the treetops, their calls echoing through the forest with a sound that seems to come from the earth itself. The understory supports hundreds of species of orchids, bromeliads, and other epiphytes that have adapted to life without soil, drawing their nutrients from the moisture-rich air and organic debris that collects in tree branches. The bird life of Mindo represents one of the most spectacular displays of evolution and adaptation found anywhere on Earth. Over 450 species of hummingbirds alone call this forest home, their iridescent feathers creating flashes of emerald, ruby, and sapphire as they dart between flowering plants. The cock of the rock, Ecuador's national bird, performs elaborate courtship displays in forest clearings, the male's brilliant orange plumage creating shocking color contrasts against the green backdrop. Toucans, with their oversized beaks perfectly adapted for reaching fruit on thin branches, add splashes of yellow and black to the forest palette. The forest's water systems create a series of cascading waterfalls that add another dimension to Mindo's beauty. The Nambillo and Mindo rivers, fed by constant condensation from the cloud forest, create dozens of waterfalls that range from gentle cascades to thunderous plunges. The constant moisture and lack of seasonal variation mean that these waterfalls maintain their full flow year-round, creating swimming holes and natural pools that remain refreshingly cool even in the equatorial heat. Number 4. Ingapirca Archaeological Complex. High in the Andean mountains of southern Ecuador, where ancient civilizations once ruled vast empires, stands the most significant archaeological site in the country. Ingapirca, which means Inca Wall in Quechua, represents the northernmost major outpost of the Inca Empire and, honestly, the best preserved example of Inca architecture in Ecuador. But this site tells a more complex story than simple conquest. It represents the meeting point of two advanced civilizations, the Inca and the indigenous Canary people, whose cultural fusion created a unique archaeological treasure. The approach to Ingapirca reveals a landscape that seems, well, designed for contemplation and ceremony. The complex sits at 10,696 feet above sea level, on a high plateau surrounded by rolling hills that stretch to the horizon. The thin air at this altitude creates a clarity of light that makes every detail of the ancient stonework stand out with startling precision. The site's position was clearly chosen for both strategic and ceremonial reasons. It commands views of the surrounding valleys while being positioned to capture the first light of dawn and the last rays of sunset. The centerpiece of Ingapirca is the Temple of the Sun, an elliptical structure built with the precision engineering that characterized Inca architecture throughout their empire. The massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, were cut and fitted together with such precision that not even a knife blade can be inserted between them. No mortar was used. The stones are held together purely by the accuracy of their cutting and the careful distribution of weight. The temple's elliptical shape, unique among Inca structures, may have been an accommodation to Canary religious beliefs, demonstrating the cultural synthesis that occurred at this site. The engineering sophistication of Ingapirca extends beyond its famous temple. The complex includes an elaborate system of channels and fountains that directed water through the site for both practical and ceremonial purposes. The water, sourced from natural springs in the surrounding hills, flows through precisely carved stone channels that have functioned perfectly for over 500 years. The acoustic properties of the site are equally impressive. Words spoken in normal conversation at the temple can be heard clearly from observation points hundreds of feet away, suggesting that the site was designed to accommodate large gatherings and ceremonial speeches. The broader complex reveals the sophisticated urban planning that characterized Inca settlements. Residential areas, storage facilities, and administrative buildings were arranged according to principles that maximized both functionality and symbolic meaning. The site's terraced architecture follows the natural contours of the landscape while creating distinct areas for different activities. Archaeological evidence suggests that Ingapirca served not only as a religious center, but also as an administrative hub, a military outpost, and a center for astronomical observation. Number 3. Swing at the End of the World, also known as La Casa del Arbol. Perched on a mountainside overlooking the active Tungurahua volcano, at an elevation where the Earth seems to drop away into infinity, hangs perhaps the most vertigo-inducing attraction in South America. The swing at the end of the world, attached to a simple treehouse at La Casa del Arbol, offers an experience that combines natural beauty with pure adrenaline in a way that has captivated adventurers from around the globe. This is no ordinary playground equipment. It's a leap of faith that rewards the brave with views that seem to encompass the entire world. The seismic monitoring station that houses the swing was built to observe Tungurahua's volcanic activity, but its location on a cliff face 8,530 feet above sea level creates a vantage point that transforms the simple act of swinging into an otherworldly experience. The swing itself appears deceptively simple, a wooden seat attached to thick ropes, suspended from a massive tree that has weathered decades of volcanic ash and mountain storms. Yet the moment you push off from the platform, the ground disappears beneath your feet, and you're flying through space with nothing but air between you and the valley floor thousands of feet below. The view from the swing encompasses a landscape that seems too dramatic to be real. Tungurahua volcano dominates the horizon, its perfect cone shape rising 16,480 feet into the sky, often crowned with a plume of steam that hints at the molten forces beneath. The volcano's slopes reveal the scars of recent eruptions, channels carved by pyroclastic flows, areas where ash has created new topography, and the stark contrast between vegetation that has recovered and zones that remain barren. The mountain's presence is so commanding that it creates its own weather patterns, with clouds often forming around its summit even on clear days. The swing's arc carries riders out over the Pastaza River Valley, a dramatic gorge that cuts through the landscape like a green ribbon. The river below appears as a thin silver line, its roar inaudible from this height, while the surrounding mountains create layer upon layer of peaks that fade into the distance. The contrast between the intimate experience of swinging and the vast scale of the landscape creates a sensation that few activities can match, a moment of pure exhilaration combined with the profound humility that comes from witnessing the Earth's raw power and beauty. What makes this experience truly extraordinary is the combination of natural beauty and human audacity. The swing represents a perfect fusion of adventure and aesthetics, where the thrill of the activity is matched by the stunning backdrop that unfolds during each arc. The sensation of flying through space while surrounded by one of the world's most active volcanic landscapes creates memories that seem almost too vivid to be real. The fact that an active volcano serves as the backdrop adds an element of raw power to the experience, a reminder that this landscape is constantly changing, shaped by forces that dwarf human engineering. Number 2. Devil's Nose Train, or Nariz del Diablo. Carved into the face of a nearly vertical cliff at the turn of the 20th century, the Devil's Nose Railway represents one of the most audacious engineering achievements in the Western Hemisphere. This section of the Trans-Andean Railway, which connects the Pacific coast with the Andean highlands, descends 1,640 feet in just 7.5 miles through a series of switchbacks that zigzag down the face of a mountain so steep it was considered impossible to traverse. The railway's construction cost thousands of lives, earning it the grim nickname the most difficult railway in the world. The train journey begins in Alausi, a small town perched at 8,350 feet above sea level, where the railway station seems to hang on the edge of the world. The The town itself is a marvel of adaptation to extreme topography, with buildings that appear to be carved into the mountainside and streets that follow the natural contours of the terrain. The approach to the Devil's Nose reveals why this section of railway was so feared by engineers. The mountain face drops away at angles that seem to defy gravity, while the narrow ledge that supports the tracks appears impossibly fragile against the massive scale of the surrounding landscape. The engineering solution to the Devil's Nose problem was as elegant as it was terrifying. Rather than attempting to bore through the mountain or build around it, engineers created a series of switchbacks that allow the train to literally zigzag down the cliff face. The train moves forward to the end of one track, then reverses direction and moves backward down another track, repeating this process multiple times as it descends. The sensation of riding this train is unlike any other railway experience. Passengers watch the world rotate around them as the train changes direction, while the views shift from panoramic vistas to close-up encounters with the cliff face. The construction of the Devil's Nose Railway required innovations that pushed the boundaries of early 20th century engineering. Workers, many of them Jamaican immigrants, had to be lowered down the cliff face on ropes to blast foundations for the tracks. The narrow-gauge railway, with tracks just 3 feet 6 inches apart, was the only feasible solution for such extreme terrain. The locomotives themselves had to be specially designed to handle the steep grades and tight curves, with powerful braking systems to control the descent and traction systems that could grip the rails even in rain and fog. The journey down the Devil's Nose reveals landscapes that seem to exist in multiple climatic zones simultaneously. The train begins its descent through paramo vegetation typical of high-altitude environments, then passes through cloud forest where the air becomes thick with moisture, and the vegetation transforms into a lush green carpet. As the elevation drops, the climate becomes more temperate, with agricultural terraces carved into the mountainsides and small communities that have adapted to life on nearly vertical slopes. Number 1. Galapagos Marine Reserve. Beyond the famous islands themselves lies an underwater realm that represents one of the most extraordinary marine ecosystems on Earth. The Galapagos Marine Reserve, encompassing 51,000 square miles of Pacific Ocean, protects waters where 3 major ocean currents converge to create conditions found nowhere else on the planet. This underwater world, where tropical and temperate species coexist in impossible harmony, offers diving experiences that redefine what's possible beneath the waves. The convergence of ocean currents at the Galapagos creates a unique marine environment that supports species diversity, rivaling any tropical reef system. The cold Humboldt Current flowing north from Antarctica brings nutrients that support massive populations of plankton and small fish. The warm Panama Current carries tropical species south, while the deep Cromwell Current brings cold, nutrient-rich water to the surface. This mixing creates upwelling zones where the ocean literally boils with life, supporting food chains that can sustain everything from microscopic organisms to the largest sharks on Earth. The underwater topography of the Galapagos reveals a landscape as dramatic as anything found on land. Underwater volcanic formations create walls, pinnacles, and caverns that provide habitat for countless species. At sites like Darwin's Arch, underwater rock formations rise from depths of over 100 feet to within 30 feet of the surface, creating underwater mountains that serve as cleaning stations for massive marine life. The water clarity often exceeds 100 feet, allowing divers to see these underwater cathedrals in their full glory. The marine life encounters possible in the Galapagos waters transcend typical diving experiences. Schools of scalloped hammerhead sharks, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, patrol the deeper waters around seamounts and rock formations. These gatherings, among the largest aggregations of hammerheads in the world, create underwater spectacles that seem to belong in prehistoric seas. Whale sharks, the largest fish on Earth, visit the islands regularly, their massive bulk creating encounters that dwarf divers and remind them of their place in the ocean's hierarchy. The endemic marine species of the Galapagos demonstrate evolution in action beneath the waves. Marine iguanas, found nowhere else on Earth, have adapted to life in salt water with specialized glands that allow them to expel excess salt. Watching these prehistoric-looking creatures gracefully swimming through underwater gardens of algae creates one of the most surreal wildlife encounters possible. Galapagos penguins, the only penguin species found north of the equator, hunt in waters where tropical fish create living kaleidoscopes of color. The seasonal variations in the Galapagos waters create different experiences throughout the year. During the cool, dry season from June to November, The nutrient-rich waters support massive populations of small fish, which attract larger predators and create feeding frenzies that turn the ocean into a battlefield of survival. The warm, wet season from December to May brings calmer conditions and better visibility, allowing for more intimate encounters with the marine life that calls these waters home. The protection status of the Galapagos Marine Reserve has created an underwater time capsule where marine ecosystems function as they did before human impact. The abundance of apex predators, from sharks to rays to marine mammals, creates a balanced ecosystem where every level of the food chain thrives. This balance is visible in the behavior of the marine life. Species that would be skittish or rare in other locations display natural behaviors and exist in numbers that seem impossible in our modern world. Standing at the edge of the Galapagos waters, watching the sun set over an ocean that has remained unchanged for millions of years, it becomes clear why this marine reserve represents the pinnacle of Ecuador's natural wonders. Here, in waters where Darwin's revolutionary insights were born, the ocean continues to write new chapters in the story of life on Earth. Ecuador doesn't just offer destinations, it offers revelations. From the impossible heights of Chimborazo to the depths of the Galapagos waters, from the architectural perfection of Cuenca to the raw power of Tungurahua's slopes, this country compresses the entire spectrum of natural and human achievement into a space that seems, honestly, almost too small to contain such magnificence. What makes Ecuador truly extraordinary isn't just the individual beauty of these 12 wonders, but the way they connect to tell a larger story. This is a country where every landscape tells a tale of geological forces, evolutionary processes, and human adaptation that spans millions of years. The same tectonic activity that created the towering peaks of the Andes also gave birth to the volcanic islands of the Galapagos. The cloud forests that nurture impossible biodiversity exist because of the same mountain-building processes that created the peaks where condors soar through thin air. The people of Ecuador have not merely survived in these extreme environments, they've thrived, creating architectural marvels that rival anything in the world and maintaining cultural traditions that span millennia. From the indigenous communities of the Amazon who know the secrets of the forest's pharmacology, to the colonial masters who built Cuenca's timeless beauty, to the modern engineers who conquered the Devil's Nose, human creativity has matched the natural world's boundless imagination. In a world where authentic wilderness becomes increasingly rare, Ecuador offers something precious: landscapes that remain wild, species that exist nowhere else, and experiences that can still inspire the same sense of wonder that drove Darwin to revolutionize our understanding of life itself. These are places that remind us that the Earth is still capable of surprise, still capable of creating beauty so profound it stops us in our tracks and forces us to reconsider our place in the natural world. The 12 wonders we've witnessed today represent more than just spectacular destinations. They're proof that in an age of digital everything, the physical world can still take your breath away. They remind us that no photograph, no video, no virtual reality can truly capture the sensation of standing on the rim of Quilatoa, feeling the spray from Pilón del Diablo, or swinging out over the abyss at the end of the world. These experiences require presence, courage, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones into landscapes that challenge our preconceptions about what's possible. Ecuador's gift to the world isn't just its beauty, it's its ability to concentrate so much diversity, so much wonder, so much life-changing experience into a single, accessible country. In a matter of days, you can go from swimming with hammerhead sharks in the Galapagos to hiking through cloud forests, alive with hummingbirds, from exploring Inca ruins to witnessing active volcanoes, from colonial architectural masterpieces to indigenous communities living as they have for thousands of years. This is a country that doesn't just invite exploration, it demands it. Every mountain peak hides another valley, every valley reveals another wonder, every wonder opens the door to experiences that will reshape how you see the world. Ecuador proves that the age of discovery isn't over, it's just waiting for those bold enough to seek it out. If this journey amazed you, subscribe and share it with someone who loves discovery. The world is still full of wonders waiting to be explored, and Ecuador proves that sometimes the most extraordinary places are hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to open our eyes and truly see. Some places you visit, others stay with you forever. Until the next destination, stay curious,